YouTube and to go live. Welcome everybody to this month's live stream. We do these every month, answer your guys' questions about Carbon Diet Coach, about nutrition, whatever questions you guys have. Be sure to throw them either in the comments. If you're on Instagram, the best way to do it is put it in the question box, and then I can pull that up on the screen for everybody to see. So we'll wait to get a few people in here. But if you guys have questions, be sure to put them in there. My name's Keith. I am a co-founder here at Carbon Diet Coach, and I'm a registered dietitian, and I am here to answer any of your guys' questions you guys have about carbon, about nutrition. So be sure to ask them. Hope everybody's having a great Thursday. Let's see. We've got a few questions coming in on Instagram already, so I'll hop over here, check it out. So first question we have is, when you want to lose 10 pounds, what is the best choice? So the best goal to choose, or the best setting to choose in carbon, is definitely going to be weight loss. If you have a weight loss goal, the best thing is to choose the weight loss plan. Some reasons why you may not want to start with the weight loss goal would be if you know that your metabolism is quite suppressed. That's a scenario where we would recommend potentially reverse dieting before you try to lose weight, just to help optimize your current metabolism and get it to a place where you can lose weight on more sustainable calories. That's if the scenario is where your metabolism is suppressed. But most people just aren't tracking their diet and understanding what they're taking in, and they're eating more calories than they think they are. So for the vast majority of people, we recommend to just start with your goal of weight loss, if your goal is weight loss, and then the app will adjust. So the app will learn your body over time. It'll figure out where you actually need to be eating to see the progress that you want to see on a weekly basis, and it'll fine tune your macro targets for those. So for that one, yeah, definitely start with weight loss and then have the coach take over from there. Great question. Next one is when to stop a reverse diet. The app hasn't gotten there yet. So like you're alluding to, the app will give you a recommendation to change your goal. Well, it won't say you should change your goal. It'll say that your metabolism looks like it's in a good place based on how your body's responding. It'll give that message, and then at that point, you can make the decision. Hey, do I want to keep reverse dieting and seeing how far I can push it, or do I want to switch my goal? So in some cases, the app isn't going to say that. So some people aren't going to reach that threshold where the app thinks your metabolism is in a great place, just based on genetics. Everybody responds differently to a reverse diet. So it may not give that message to you. So I think what's important to monitor and keep in mind for when to change your goal is how you're feeling, and also how is your weight changing and how comfortable are you with adding more body fat. It's kind of a trade-off of like pushing calories as high as you can while keeping body fat as low as possible. They're kind of in opposition to each other. And so you need to find where's that sweet spot for you, of where you're comfortable with your body fat percentage, as well as your metabolic rate that carbon has gotten you up to. So it's kind of a personal choice of what you feel comfortable with. If you feel like pushing it further and adding a little bit more body fat to see how far you can maximize things, go for it. If you're the type of person that wants to stay as lean as possible while in this process, then maybe you can cut it off sooner. But you can also wait till the app tells you to as well. But like I said, not everybody will get that message. All right, we got quite a few here. Let's see. When do you intend to integrate weight recordings with Apple Health? We are shooting to have a release out around the end of this month with the Apple Health integration in there. We're held up a little bit by the Google side of things with Google Fit, so we're also integrating with Google Fit, and they have some certain things we need to do on that platform to be able to use those data points. So, but yeah, we're shooting for the end of this month to do the Apple Health integration. All right. Here's another good one. Should I adjust the calories and macros when sick, or just try to eat and wait until everything balances out. I would continue with the plan as recommended. And so the reason why is when you're sick, you actually your body requires more calories than when you're not sick, and that is to fight off that sickness that you have. That's the immune response to fight off the sickness. It requires more calories, so you're going to require more calories during that week. And then when you're also sick, you're going to probably burn fewer calories because you're maybe not going to do as hard of workouts. Maybe you're going to skip your workout, and I find that those two things balance each other out. So the increase in your metabolism and the decrease in activity tend to just be a wash. So that's why for most people I recommend to just continue with the plan as is. If you're in a situation where you're like very, very sick and you're sick for multiple weeks or something like that, in those scenarios, yeah, you may want to do something different, and we can give you more specific recommendations if you reach out to support@joincarbon.com for each of those scenarios. Question. All right, we got Facebook. Let me jump over here. I'm always in a cycle when I go into maintenance. My weight goes up, and then I spend the next 2 or 3 weeks after the diet break getting back down. How do you go about navigating that yo-yo? A lot of that yo-yo is due to the diet break, and so potentially not doing the diet breaks could be one strategy to help fight off that yo-yo of your weight, because you're having a drastically different amount of calories on a weekly basis. And so that can cause a lot of that yo-yo. Now, if you're always being compliant, the app is going to take your average, so it's not going to matter as much. And then we do have, some kind of workaround recommendations floating around our Facebook group of how to do it after a diet break week. You put in your average weight instead of your scale weight, and you don't check in before you change your goal. You just change your goal. That's one way to kind of counteract that. But I will tease a little bit. We have a feature coming out hopefully at the end of this month as well, where anything that causes weight fluctuations isn't going to really have an effect on your macro recommendations. So this is kind of a big overhaul of how we're determining what your true weight is, and so we're gonna release that at the end of this month, where it's gonna be able to sense what weights are due to water weight fluctuations and what is actual like true weight changes over time, and that's going to only improve the coaching algorithm in terms of the adjustments. So we're super excited to get that out, and that will be released under an experimental flag within settings. So you would have to explicitly turn it on, but more details on that to come towards the end of this month. We should be able to give some more details about that and get people trying that out if they feel like trying out an experimental feature. But we're excited to get that rolling as well. All right. Let's see. Lost 90 pounds using carbon. Amazing. Thanks for making a great product. You're welcome. Thanks for being a user. I noticed recently when I changed my goal weight, my macros also changed. Why is this? I didn't change the weight loss rate at all. So it shouldn't. If you're changing your goal weight, like on the coach tab, that really is just a display for you to kind of visualize what your goal is. Carbon works on a weekly basis, and so like changing that final goal weight is not going to change any of the macros or recommendations. I'm wondering if maybe you have like the calorie planner adjusted and you didn't realize it or something. But if you want support to look into it further, please reach out to us, support@joincarbon.com. They can give you a good idea of what's happening there. But it shouldn't change your goal weight without creating a new goal. It isn't going to change your macros. If you create a new goal and then enter a new goal weight, that is going to give different macros because it's looking at what is your metabolism at this point in time, and then it's making the recommendations based on that. So it's kind of like a new starting point for the goal. So it just depends on how you went about changing that goal weight. All right. a weekly check-in. How strict should I be when I say if I was able to follow the macros? So the app has the acceptable range built into it. They'll light up green if they're within the app's acceptable range. Now, everybody doesn't follow that strict level of compliance. It's plus or minus 3% right now, which can be quite tight for some people, especially when your calories are a little bit lower. So um, it, it, that is what is technically compliant. Now, there are some people that choose to just hit calories. Some people choose just to hit calories and protein. Some people want to hit all macros and make sure they're within range. It's up to you how strict you want to be with it. I will say, I think it is important to at least follow the calories and protein recommendations within range. Um, and have the rest kind of fall wherever they may. I think that's the best balance of like um, a very easy, sustainable diet to follow while still not being too strict with things. So I think that's a good balance doing calories and protein. But I would make sure that those are within range at least when you check in. But yeah, it's a personal preference thing. People have been able to make great progress just doing calories. So it's going to come down to how strict are your goals. The more strict and the more difficult your goal is that you want to achieve, you're probably going to have to be more strict with your macros and maybe hit all your macros and making sure those are in line. Now, that's on the weekly level. So like that doesn't mean every single day has to be perfect. You can use the calorie planner to shuffle those calories around throughout the week so that you still are compliant by the end of the week, but you don't have to be super, super strict every single day with hitting the numbers, if that makes sense. So there's wiggle room there with the calorie planner where you can shuffle things around based on your schedule and preferences and all that stuff to make it a little more sustainable. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to hitting the recommendations on average, enough close enough for an extended period of time, being consistent to make great progress. All right. Is it important to log sugar-free drinks as well? Um, if they don't have any carbs, so if you look at the nutrition label and it doesn't have any carbs listed for total carbs, you don't need to track it. So things like diet sodas, all of those are calorie free, carb free. Those don't need to be tracked. I wouldn't waste your time and energy tracking that. Basically, just fluid. It's not providing any calories for your body. So those types of things, I definitely wouldn't worry about tracking. Uh, it's just doesn't matter. Um, we got YouTube. Um, Jag asks, any new features coming? Yes, we are working on a release to do towards the end of this month with Apple Health integration as well as Google Fit integration, and then an experimental end weight feature, which is kind of a bigger algorithm change that we're making to improve how the coach determines what your true weight is at any point in time. And so that's that's like a very big feature actually that we're releasing that isn't going to change a ton like visually in the app, but it changes so much underneath that it's just going to improve the product so much and the recommendations that we're super excited about that one. But yeah, the Apple Health integration is also going to be very nice for those that um, maybe have a Bluetooth scale that they step on. They won't have to be entering their weight daily into Carbon. They can just sync it up with Apple Health and be on their way. So those are the two things we have in the pipeline right now. All right. Water intake. How much water should I drink? This is very, very individualized. It depends on so many factors like your activity level, um, your weight, the amount of muscle you carry, your climate, all of these things uh, affect your fluid recommendations quite a bit. I think the easiest way to determine um, for anybody, is not to say you need to drink X amount of water every day because some people need more, some people need less. Best way is to just monitor the color of your urine. You can drink, be sipping on water throughout the day so that you keep your urine like clear to very, very faint yellow. The second, when you start seeing it getting, more dark yellow, that's kind of showing that you're not drinking enough water. But if you drink enough to keep your urine like clear to clear, slight tinted yellow, you're going to be hydrated properly, and that's good. So water can also be used as like a uh, something to help with hunger as well. So if you just are just drinking, a good amount of water, it can help keep you full a little bit longer. If you're on a weight loss goal and you want to not be as hungry, you can just drink more water, even though you may be fully hydrated. It can just help keep you a little bit more full. So very individualized, but I would just drink a certain amount, be consistent with it, and just monitor and then adjust. Maybe the next day throw in an extra 8 ounces or something to see how that does. Let's see. Great. If I use the tracker, would the coach be more precise, or can I use another tracker and check in with the coach? Uh, so you can use any tracker you want. If you're tracking carbon, it's not necessarily making the coach more precise or anything like that. We decoupled them because there are quite a few people that still prefer a different food tracker to use. And so we didn't want to tightly couple it where we're looking at the specific entries that are in the carbon diary, just because there may be a large percentage of people that prefer a different food tracking app. So when you check into carbon, it'll ask you, were you compliant to these macro targets? You need to just answer yes or no, and uh, the hitting of those macros is your responsibility in whatever food tracker you prefer to use. You could also even create a meal plan for yourself and not even track your food. You could take the macros that the coach gives you, make a one-time meal plan that fits those, and then just eat that every day and not have to worry about even tracking. So there are many ways to skin a cat. You can just do whatever you prefer, but don't feel like you have to use the carbon tracker. We feel like the carbon tracker is very user friendly and very nice to use, but we understand people have preference of potentially a different tracker. So we leave that option up to you. All right. You guys are doing a super job. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. So when in weight loss, does calorie adjustments based on scale weight loss, or does it take into account body fat going down but scale remains static? Uh, yes, it does take into account body fat if your body fat changes a significant amount in a single check-in. So, um, if, for example, you're on weight loss, let's say your goal is 1 pound a week or something, you didn't lose any weight, or you didn't lose any weight on average for the week, um, and the coach would normally adjust you down. If you're also entering your body fat in, and it sees a significant change in your body fat percentage, it will keep your macros the same because you appear to be making progress in your body fat, even if you're not making progress in your weight. So it does take into account both. Um, so you just need to make sure you're putting in body fat and you're putting it in regularly if you want it to be used properly. So if you're the type of person that steps on a scale daily and it tests your body fat and you enter that into carbon daily, the app has more data to work with and sense those type of changes in your body fat. But we thought of everything in terms of the adjustments. Like the same goes for like the weight gain setting. It does look at body fat percentage as well. It takes that into account when it makes its adjustments. So nothing to worry about there. All right, I'm on a reverse. How long should I reverse? This is a very common uh, question, and again, it's so individualized to the person. It depends on where you started in terms of your metabolism. what your metabolism goals are, how high you want to get them, um, how long you were dieting prior. There are so many different factors. So I think the best way is to listen to your body and see what's happening. The coach will give you a message when it appears your metabolism's in a good place. But sometimes people don't push it high enough in terms of the metabolism to get that coaching message. But you can always cut it off at any point in time if you feel like you are done with your reverse. So I think a good sign to kind of sense you're nearing the end of your reverse diet is you start gaining weight pretty linearly each week. So like if there's like 3 weeks in a row where you just keep putting on weight, keep putting on weight, and the coach doesn't increase your macros on the reverse diet setting for multiple weeks in a row, or it even decreases your macros for a couple weeks in a row, like those are signs that hey, your body is saying I've had enough. I'm not gonna increase my metabolism more. I'm just gonna start putting on weight. And so you need to listen to your body with that and make that call for yourself based on the trade-off of okay, uh, my metabolism I'm happy with, and the body fat level I'm at I'm happy with. It's all trade-offs. So we didn't want to make that decision for you. We just wanted to provide users with the information that their metabolism's in a good place, and then the rest can come down to preference. Um, been in 3 weeks cut, adhered to macros, but gained 2 pounds. What happened? There could be a lot of things that happen. My my guess is you may have gained 2 pounds by just looking at like individual scale weights and whatnot. But what really matters is your um, what's your trend over time? Like over these 3 weeks, uh, are you trending down or are you trending up? And that 2 pounds is literally just like a weight fluctuation overnight. There's so many things that could happen there. But I will say if you keep adhering to the macros and you keep checking in, coach is going to find exactly where you need to eat to see the progress that you want. And so um, yeah, I think for a lot of people, it's hard to get out of the short term mindset of seeing the scale fluctuate. It's very difficult to see it fluctuate. Like you see multiple days go down, and then all of a sudden, boom, one day you're up. People can get demotivated by that, but I think it's very important to take a step back and have more of a longer term mindset and looking at what is the trend over time. Okay, carbon adjusts based on this trend, so you don't need to worry about it. But just having the patients to ride it out and follow the recommendations and trusting the coaching system because it will get you where you want to go if you keep following it and trusting it. So I would suggest keep riding it out. The coach will figure it out and get you to where you want to be. If you would like a second set of eyes on it, I'd reach out to support at joincarbon.com. You can also do it through the app and settings, but they can look at what's going on and let you know in more detail. But that's what I can recommend from this point in time. Um, Lots of good questions, guys. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Should okay this oh wait why can't it be shared? That's weird. Um, should your reverse should you reverse into maintenance following a long period of calorie deficit? This kind of speaks to a misconception around reverse dieting, I believe. Um, some people think reverse dieting is you are you are starting at your deficit calories and you're slowly bringing them up to your estimated maintenance. Um, that all that does is just prolong the amount of time you're in a deficit. Really, once you're done dieting, the goal is to get out of that deficit and take your calories instantly up to your estimated maintenance. Now, if you take them up to your estimated maintenance, by definition, you're not going to gain, weight or body fat. You might have some water fluctuations, but you're not going to gain. That's your maintenance at that point in time. So we don't recommend slowly walking up to that value. We recommend starting at that value and then increasing from there. And that's because that your estimated maintenance at the end of a diet is lower than what your maintenance was at the beginning of the diet. So if you were to just end your diet, go back to your pre-diet maintenance, you would end up putting on body fat pretty quickly, probably. So the goal is to bring your metabolism back up, over time to a sustainable level and push it as far as you can if you want. And so we recommend going right from deficit to your estimated maintenance at that point in time, and then reverse dieting from there. And the coach does all this, so you don't need to worry about it. You just once you're done with the diet, you switch to a reverse diet, and it takes all that into consideration and gives you the right recommendations, gets you started on your reverse diet, and then you can continue on from there. What's the best way to measure body fat at home? I personally like the scales just because it's super easy. Every morning, I just step on it. It tests my body fat. I don't need to get calipers out, measure in multiple spots, and then plug it into anything. I tend to prioritize what's easy and what's repeatable as well. So like being repeatable with body fat measurement is more important in my opinion, because if you are consistent with the method that you're using to test your body fat, you can be confident in the changes over time. You can't necessarily know, is it going to be the most accurate number spitting out at any point in time, but you can be confident that, hey, if I'm using the same method, I test my body fat at this point in time, and the average is here, and then 6 months down the road, I test it again, check out the average. If it's down, I can be very confident that I lost a significant amount of body fat. So we recommend being consistent with whatever method. Pick one that you prefer, that's easiest for you, and then just do that. And I find the scales tend to be pretty easy. um, uh, I put custom macros and it still alters my macros based on compliance. Why is this? Um, Custom macros should disable checking in, and you shouldn't check in with your custom macros because the coach is adjusting based on its target macros. So if you set custom, you're basically saying, I just want to use the food tracker portion of carbon. You're not going to be able to benefit from, the calorie planner, because the calorie planner requires you to check in weekly. You're not going to be able to benefit from the coaching adjustments. We put the custom macros in there just for like the escape hatch of people that, hey, I don't want to use the coaching features at all. I just want to track my diet. That's why the custom's in there. So we highly recommend using the coaching feature and following the coach's recommended macros instead. um, all right. I haven't worked out in 2 years and don't track my food. Per Google search, my weight is normal. Is normal range for my height. How do I start? Base build phase or reverse or cut? I mean, it depends on your goals. What's important to you? What are your goals? Um, that's going to dictate what goal you go with in the app. I can't pick your goal for you, so I think just think about what's most important to you. Do you want to lose body fat, lose weight? Go with the lose weight setting. Do you want to uh, build muscle optimally, and are you okay with gaining more body fat? Then either go with the weight gain or reverse. You want to improve your metabolism and see how high you can push it given your current body. Go with reverse. If you want to just maintain your weight, go with the maintenance setting. There are some unique scenarios where somebody may be able to build muscle and lose fat at the same time. Like for you, for example, if you haven't worked out in 2 years, you can probably notice some good body composition changes by just introducing weight training and eating and going with the maintenance setting in the app. You can probably notice some good body recomposition by that. Just because you haven't worked out in 2 years, you would be building muscle more rapidly in that scenario. So it depends on your goals. If you would like some help figuring out what setting is best based on your unique situation, you can always reach out to us at support@jointcrumming.com. We can give you specific recommendations around that. So yeah. Does reverse increase BMR or does it increase my NEAT? BMR is a pretty static number. It will change based on your body weight and your like lean body mass and stuff over time, but not nearly as significant as your NEAT would. And so NEAT stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Basically, a lot of like subconscious movements, fidgeting, those types of things. Basically, activity that isn't you consciously working out. So going about your day, all those types of things factor into NEAT. And so the changes, yeah, will come more from NEAT. What brand? Spoonfold caliper for measuring body fat. I'm not sure because I don't use a caliper to test, but I can give my scale recommendation. I use a Withings Body Plus scale. It used to be, I think, called Nokia Body Plus. I use that. I enjoy it because it's easy and it syncs with my phone. So that's my recommendation there. I've been cutting for 4 months and been consistently losing weight. I'm extremely happy with the results. When to start a reverse diet? I think once you are happy with your kind of ending body composition wise, like ending the diet body composition wise. So I would cut until you reach that point where you're either happy with your body composition or you start feeling more of the effects of dieting. So the longer you diet, you're going to start feeling more of those effects, where you have more fatigue, you're tired, it's difficult for you to reach your macro targets. Those types of things can kind of be early warning signs of, hey, you're kind of nearing the end of where your body feels comfortable and wants to be body composition wise. And so that would be kind of a sign of, hey, time to reverse diet and switch your goal to reverse. And then hopefully building up your calories back to a pretty high level while keeping that body composition you had when you cut. There are certain levels of body composition, like once you get super, super lean, it's not healthy to stay that lean all the time. And so you may want to put body fat back on, but that's in more extreme cases of people, getting, bodybuilding style lean. For most people, they don't care about getting that lean. They just want to get beach lean. And you can do that in a very sustainable way and sustain that level of body fat percentage. So yeah, just go based on where until you're happy with your body composition and then switch to reverse. We're tracking low calorie drinks. For example, 2 calories a serving. For stuff like that, honestly, I wouldn't even worry about it unless you're drinking hundreds of them a day. Like, it's not going to matter. 2 calories is like you're going to have way more rounding errors in your tracking than the amount of calories in a drink like that. So it's like, what is the cost benefit of doing it? Like, for the amount of time it's going to take you to track those and keep track of them, is it worth it for potentially like 6 calories a day? Like, there's so much. There's going to be a lot more like rounding errors in your tracking, so I wouldn't worry about stuff like that. I also tend to not worry about like supplements that I take daily. So, for example, my fish oil, it's giving me fat. Like for the amount I take, it's giving me a couple grams of fat, like, I don't know, 3, 4 grams of fat a day, but it's something that I take every single day and I take it as a supplement. And so I don't worry about tracking that. Now, what that means is I'm, I'm tracking in the app 3 to 4 grams of fat less than what I actually ate, but that doesn't matter because um, I'm being consistent. So that's why consistency is so important. Like once you're consistent, the actual numbers that you're eating aren't aren't as critical. It's really like how is your weight changing over time based on you being consistent with the way you're doing things and your activity and all these things that come into it. Like that's why we preach consistency, consistency, consistency is because so many things are improved when you're consistent, and that's really the name of the game. So we try to make like carbon as user friendly as possible, as sustainable as possible by allowing you to have any diet preference. We have balanced, macro split. We have low carb, we have low fat, we have plant based, we have keto, like all of these different diet splits that you can choose, and you can also fine tune each one to your exact preference of your macro ratio split that you want to do. Um, so that's like a feature that we put in to help with consistency, and because it's the name of the game, and so many other things like the calorie planner as well. Like we put that in there so that it can help fit into your lifestyle, and it's not like, hey, you need to be perfect every single day. So all of these things try to make it so that this can fit into your life. Like we're everybody's busy. We all have things going on. We all have other things pulling our attention in different directions. And so, like, the more that we can incorporate this into our life with the least amount of pain, the better you're off you're going to be long term because you're going to be more consistent. So, that's really our priority is making things simple, scientific, and sustainable. That's why that's the tagline on our website. Do you have any advice on use of cam oil spray? I know it actually does have cals and fat. Who actually sprays for a quarter of a second? Yeah, the labeling of those types of oil sprays is so ridiculous. Like they should not be able to label it like that. Say 0 calories with 0.25 seconds. Yeah, that's just ridiculous. But the amount of the amount of fat you're going to get is, I don't believe, significant enough to worry about, especially if you're just spraying the pan so it doesn't stick. Like you may be getting, a gram of fat or something, which is 9 calories. Not going to break the bank in terms of you being not reaching your goal. And now, the more things you do that with, the more lenient you get with certain things, then there's potential it could affect. But like if you are consistent with the way you do things, it's not going to matter. So if you consistently spray your pan daily and you use carbon, it's not going to matter. So for the most part, I wouldn't worry about the cooking sprays. If you really are somebody that has an extreme goal that needs to be more, dialed into specific macros, then you may want to start counting those types of things. Also, if you're like pouring oil, there's going to be a lot of calories in like pouring actual oil, and so I would always track like oils like that. It's just the spray aerosol oils. It's something that I wouldn't worry too much about unless you're really going overboard with it. All right, uh, can you start to pull back on cardio and continue to focus on weightlifting when reverse dieting? Yes, you can, and that's actually what we like to recommend as well. Um, so personally, I like to look at cardio as a tool that I introduce into my plan when I need to. So I don't keep it in all year, for example. Like since I also weight train, I don't need the cardio to be like a cardiovascular exercise because that's what my weight training is giving me plenty of cardio fitness. And so I use cardio as a tool for weight loss and fat loss and being able to augment things so that I don't have to go super low on calories. I can increase my activity. And so towards while you're reverse dieting, I like to walk back the cardio that I'm doing to a place where at the end of my reverse, I'm not doing any cardio at all. And then when I do go back to weight loss, for example, I would introduce cardio back in. And since your body is not as used to it, it's going to have a much better effect at the beginning of your diet than it would if you kept it in your program throughout the whole year. So your body really, cardio is an exercise where your body adapts to quite easily just because of the low intensity nature of it. And so if you're doing cardio, you're going to actually burn fewer calories than you did previously because you're going to, body's going to adapt to doing that exercise to be as thrifty as possible with the calories. So it's going to conserve energy. The more cardio you do, the more efficient you're going to get at that cardio exercise, and so it's going to burn fewer calories. So that's why I like to cycle it in and out depending on my goal. And I usually only introduce it when I'm doing a weight loss. Any plans for doing full dark mode color theme to the Carbon phone app? Yes, we do, but it's not soon, unfortunately. We we have like a rebrand that we did. So like we had all of our screens redesigned and all that stuff. It takes a lot of time to implement those types of things. So we do have plans for a dark mode in the future for sure, but not uh, soon, unfortunately. But I would love to get that out here at some point. um, would you lose muscle on maintenance if not strength training for a month or more? Uh, you'd probably lose a little bit. I think people overestimate the amount of muscle they lose when they stop training. It it takes it takes a few weeks to start seeing muscle loss. A lot of the like uh, initial changes you feel are more just like differences in fluid balance. So like if you didn't weight train for a whole week, you're not going to be as pumped up because you're not going to have that muscle damage and local inflammation in the muscles. So not going to be as swollen. And a lot of people see that and they feel like, hey, I'm losing muscle. No, that's not really the case. The research shows that it takes quite a few weeks to start seeing actual muscle loss, especially if you're not in a deficit. So what I'm speaking about is when you're not in a deficit. If you're in a deficit and you're not weight training, that's more of a recipe for losing muscle. But let's say, like you mentioned, at maintenance, you could probably not see any muscle loss for not training for 3 weeks or so. Once you start getting to like a month or more, that's when you're going to start seeing more muscle loss. But 1 to 2 weeks, I would have zero concerns of losing muscle if you're eating at maintenance. So that's a good thing. Like you don't have to be afraid of taking a week off if you're going on vacation, for example. Like you can just take the week off from training, and it's actually going to be beneficial because you're going to be fully recovered when you get home, and you can hit it even harder. And so you need to have these planned periods of rest. They're very important. You can't just hit it hard every single day, every single week, and expect to be making great progress long term. You need to plan in these breaks, and so don't be afraid to take a break. But with your question, for a month or more, I would say you would lose some muscle, but um, it also depends on your diet in terms of how much protein you're eating as well. But yeah, a month or more, I would expect some muscle loss. You take creatine while in a deficit. Absolutely. And that's actually a great time to take it because creatine helps improve your strength in the gym. You're going to be able to lift more weights. You're going to be able to give your body more of a reason to keep the muscle around. So creatine should be, if your goal is to like maximize strength, maximize muscle, creatine is an amazing supplement to do that. It's one of the most widely studied supplements in the market, proven effective. So like that's a supplement that if that's your goal, you want it in your body at all times. So you want to just supplement with it year round. It's not something you need to cycle or anything like that. you should, yeah, take creatine on a deficit if your goal is to um, maximize strength or maximize muscle building. It's an amazing supplement to help with that, and so I would keep it in. Uh, I think I think this question comes up a lot too because um, if you haven't taken creatine and you start taking creatine, you're going to notice a difference in your scale weight. You're going to start retaining more muscle with or more water within your muscle. A lot of people worry that they take creatine, they're going to look all bloated and everything, but that's not the case with creatine. It stores the water inside your muscle. So it basically increases the capacity in your muscle to store that water. And so um, you will see a weight increase. And like you will notice that only when you start taking it. It's a weight increase that's going to stay there as long as you keep taking it. And so, taking it and then not taking it and then taking it again is not a good idea because then that'll cause way more weight fluctuations. If that's your goal, you should take it regularly and keep it in on a deficit. That helps. All right. Something about food databases. Yeah, we currently support United States, Canada, Australia, UK. Um, it's actually very difficult to um, support multiple countries and more countries. It is potentially possible in the future, but you know, it's the specific branded food items that you're gonna. If you're in Spain, for example, you're gonna struggle to find. Um, you're gonna still have all of the common foods that you can find, but but the branded foods, you need to be in the supported regions. Um, but we hope to in the future increase the amount of regions that we support, but it's going to depend on the demand in those regions. There are certain places in Europe that we're getting enough users to have it potentially make sense to increase the database because we license the food database, and so we we have to make sure it makes sense, but we do definitely want to support more in the future. Um, yeah. So with that said, though, like our we feel that the main value proposition of carbon um, is more of the coaching features in the coaching macro adjustments. The food tracker we included because it's more of a convenience thing for our users to be able to use the food tracker. You can use any food tracker you like and pair that with the carbon coach. You follow the coach's recommendations in terms of macros. You track it in any app you want. Use MyFitnessPal, whatever. You can use any app. Just make sure you hit the macros that we're providing. And really, the value is in the weekly macro adjustments based on your goals, how your body's responding to get you to your goal. So, um, yeah, hopefully that helps. Um, I'll be undergoing surgery and unable to train for 3 months. Muscle memory saved me when I returned. Yeah, absolutely. So, muscle memory is a very real thing. You take an extended period of time off from training, you're going to lose some muscle, but you're going to bounce back in a fraction of the time it took you to build that muscle initially. So that's really the muscle memory effect. Your muscles remember being a certain size, and when you come back to training, they're going to be able to build back up to that level you were at previously more easily than before. And so I wouldn't worry about it. I've taken 3 months off, for example. I've taken a lot of time off, especially around all the COVID stuff, where I couldn't even train. And then when I got back to training, my strength came back real quickly, muscle came back quickly. So nothing to worry about. Get the surgery, recover how you need to, and then hit it when you're cleared to work out again. um, Hey Mark, sorry I can't help with workout builder stuff. I'm not super familiar with the programs, so I would reach out to their support on the BioLane website or in their Facebook group. Um, is protein more effective right after a workout, or can it wait a few hours? Mhm. Protein is not something you need to instantly chug, the second you put down the weights. Uh, you have a pretty big window. It's more like a door. It's quite big range of time that as long as you're getting in an adequate amount of protein after your workout within a certain time period, you're going to be fine. I really like to recommend, within 1 to 2 hours after your workout, get a protein rich meal. Doesn't even need to be a supplement. You can have a protein rich meal. Um, and like as long as you're doing that within 1 to 2 hours after your workout, you're completely fine. And I like to do that also on the front end of my workout. So I like to, if I'm able, based on my schedule, position my workout within the day so that I have a meal like 1 to 2 hours before I go work out, and then a meal 1 to 2 hours after I work out. So I tend to try to get my workout to fit in my day so that I can have that happen. And that's really optimal. I mean, if you're trying to be optimal, just make sure you're having a protein rich meal 1 to 2 hours before you work out, and then 1 to 2 hours after you work out. You'll be maximizing any potential benefits from protein timing. Do you prefer to go? Oh, why does it say it can't be shared? That's weird. You prefer to go at the slowest weight loss rate to prevent muscle loss. I do, and not only to prevent muscle loss, but to um, make it as easy as possible. I really like making things as easy on myself as possible. Like I like to be lazy in terms of it. Like I don't want to suffer if I don't have to. And so going with the slowest weight loss rate, yeah, it may take more time, but I'm a very patient person. And so I I'm okay with that trade-off, taking more time to get to my goal, but doing it in a way that doesn't feel like I'm putting in much effort. I would much prefer to do that than to do a lot shorter of a period and a faster rate of loss. Like it depends on you and your psychology, what fits best with you in terms of how you like to do things. But for most diets that I'll do, like I will take the slider almost as low as possible, and sometimes as low as possible, and just do that. It's gonna not cut my macros as much initially. It's gonna be a lot easier for me to keep eating the same foods that I've been eating, just maybe adjust the serving sizes down a little bit. So I personally really like it, but again, it's up to you and your psychology what kind of drives best with that. What's your thoughts about a newbie body recomp in a deficit rather than a maintenance? So that that isn't going to be a recomp then. It's like yes, you are going to be changing your body composition more than you would have if you weren't a newbie. But really, recomp is more like staying the same weight but just changing your composition, and that's something that a newbie can actually do because they don't have that weight training experience and that stimulus for their body yet. So like when you're new to weight training, you introduce that, it's going to be much easier to do a recomp. But I think going with whatever your goal is, like off the bat, is the best way to do it. So like if you if you're a newbie and you want to also lose weight and be a certain weight, then go with the weight loss setting because that's going to get you to that goal weight. But if you're a newbie, you're like, hey, I'm happy with what weight I'm at. I just want to change my composition. You can go with the maintain weight setting, but keep in mind that recomp is really a short term thing. It's not like you can stay the same weight and like completely drastically change the way you look and make a ton of progress for an extended period of time. It's more of a short window of like you're a newbie. Once you get out of that newbie stage, you're going to stop getting those newbie gains and that recomposition. And then it's really important to switch to whatever your goal is. Like you want to lose body fat, you need to lose weight at that point because you're no longer able to lose body fat being a newbie eating around your maintenance calories. And so, yeah, keep the newbie stage to what it is, a newbie stage, and then move on to a goal that is your goal, like body fat loss, with weight loss. Um, yeah, hopefully that helps. What do you think about DNA analysis? Um, for example, mine shows my body would do better with higher carbs and higher protein. I think I think companies make it seem like the science is there in terms of DNA analysis and diet when it's not. Um, I would stay far away from companies that are giving you nutrition recommendations based on your DNA. I think your nutrition should be based on your preferences instead. Like if if let's for example say that these things actually do work, these DNA analysis that tell you stuff. But it's telling you, hey, you would do great on low carb, but personally, you love carbs and your diet is revolved heavily around carbs and you enjoy carbs. You don't want to cut carbs out. That's your preference. You're going to do much better uh, with that versus what this DNA test says is optimal for you. So, I like to prioritize what's sustainable for people over necessarily what's optimal. You could have the best possible plan in the world, and if you can't follow it, it's going to mean nothing. And so, um, go with what's sustainable for you. And I wouldn't waste my money on those DNA nutrition analyses. Carbon had me on 3,600 calories a day to lose. I found I was eating loads of junk to make up the calories. That's insane. I wish I wish I had that problem. But yeah, sometimes like it can be difficult to get in the amount of calories. But your metabolism sounds crazy fast. One thing that can really help is like instead of eating like loads of junk, quote unquote junk, just include more calorie dense foods in your diet. Like start eating more peanut butter. Put oil on all your meals. Those are easy ways to get in a lot more calories. Also, like throwing in a meal replacement smoothie that you make. Just adding that into your normal meals. Like that's an easy way to get 600 plus calories extra in. With just a drink. And so those types of strategies I always reach to before like loading up your diet with a bunch of junk. Even in a surplus phase, I like to follow like the 80-20 rule, 90-10 sometimes, where 80% of your calories should come from whole nutrient dense foods, whereas 20% of your calories can be discretionary calories that you can use, quote unquote, on junk food. Um, I find that that's a nice balance, for overall health, as well as like um, making the progress that I want. And so I think for most people, following like the 80-20 rule is a great way to do it. I think that's a healthy approach. But yeah, try to throw in some strategies of getting more calories in without getting full. Is my suggestion. Um, Also, getting back into training straight to 5 days or 3 days will consistently then increase. I think it depends on where you left off at. Um, Amount of days isn't nearly as essential as like the amount of work and effort you're putting into the workout. So like you could split it up over 5 days and just do fewer exercises or that type of thing. So like it just the amount of days um, help to help are a way to like distribute the amount of exercise work that you're doing throughout the week, but it's not like um, either one would be bad. Like you could do 3 days and just do more exercises based on your skill level, or you could do 5 days and do like get out of your workouts sooner. Like it's all more of a preference thing of how you want to split things up throughout the week. But I wouldn't jump instantly back into like the intensity and the weight that you were using before you took the break. It'll be good to build up to that a little bit. So like maybe a couple week ramp up to like where you were before, so you can walk for a few weeks, if you jump back into where you were before, you're going to be in quite a lot of pain because of the downs. But yeah, that's my suggestion there. um, let's see. Great questions, guys. Appreciate everybody here. If you have more questions, throw them in the question box or in the comments. I'm going to scroll up a little bit in the comments, see if there were any that I missed. Let's see. Probably take one more question before I hop off from this live stream. So if you have a question you've been wanting to ask, now is the time to do so. I'm going to pick one more and then wrap this thing up. um, all right, I'll take this one. Easiest way to meet macro goal on the road for traveling. This is something that can be a big struggle for a lot of people. Reaching your macro targets when you don't have full control over all the food that you're eating, or you don't know what you have access to. These are situations that can be difficult for people. Uh, I will say the more experience you have with flexible dieting, the more comfortable you will be with just going with the flow in these types of situations. But in all of these situations, like the more you can plan ahead, the better off you're going to be. Uh, don't don't just go into things blind if you don't have the experience yet with flexible dieting. I think having that game plan of even if it's just a rough idea of the foods you're going to eat for the day, and you kind of adjust as you go. Like if you're going someplace, you can look up in advance what options you may have, and then kind of just try to pre-track stuff. Or you can also ask people how the food's prepared if you're at a restaurant. Mostly all restaurants these days provide nutrition information. It may not be completely accurate for the way that their chef prepared it at that point in time, but honestly, if you're not eating these types of things all the time, it's not going to make a difference. The more you just go with the best information you have, and 9 times out of 10, it works out perfectly. It's fine. But yeah, planning ahead is really key. And also, like, taking things with you as well. Like you can pack certain things that you know are going to be harder to come by. For example, I always pack some kind of protein source if I'm going away for any extended period of time, because protein tends to be one of the harder macronutrients to make sure that you're keeping up with if you are traveling or eating at restaurants. Like protein is the macro that's more difficult to come by. So I always take protein sources with me, whether it's protein bars, protein powder, beef jerky. Like there's many different easy protein sources that you can take with you that will just keep you prepared and making sure that you are staying on track with your protein. Uh, when I travel, I really like to just focus on calories and protein. I don't worry about where my carbs and fats are. I think that causes just a lot more stress without much benefit. I like to go more of the flow with traveling. So focus on hitting the calories and focus on hitting your protein, and you'll be all set. So hopefully that helps you with strategies for traveling. But I'm going to wrap this up. Appreciate everybody tuning in on this live stream. We do live streams every single month. And so between myself, Lane, and Holly, who are also co-founders, we do live streams every single month to answer you guys' questions about the app, about nutrition, whatever's on your mind. We want to engage with you guys and help you guys out, help you be more successful using carbon and in your own nutrition. So appreciate all you tuning in. You guys like the app, we would really appreciate some reviews in the app stores. So if you're Apple or Google using the app, you enjoy it, do give us a good review in the app store. That helps us a ton. And also tell your friends about it. We appreciate you, and we will catch you next month.